So thanks again for you guys that are joining us. If you don't mind hopping on video or at least being ready on chat, feel free to unmute yourself. We're going to keep things really casual today and talk about blueprints. So I'll get us kicked off here. Do you guys, by a show of hands, either with the little like reaction emoji or literally just putting your hand up, who has tried blueprints so far? Candace, Janice, other folks? Or you can put in chat too if you don't want to be on video. Emma, I see Emma. Oh, hi, Emma. Neat. Okay, so who has not yet tried blueprints then? Lots more people. Anyone brave? There you go. Thanks, guys. I love the like raised hand emoji. It makes it so easy. For anyone that hasn't used blueprints yet, I wonder if you wouldn't mind unmute yourself. Tell us why, what's holding you back, or you can put it in chat if you prefer. Just love to get some insight into like, is it just you were waiting for today? You needed to see our faces first. I hear somebody. Go for it.
We got some newbies.
Yeah, we got some stuff going on in chat. So just getting started, that's totally fair. New to PropFuel, yes. Oh, hi, Tessa. Okay, it's fun when we recognize names. I get it, totally busy. Haven't had the time. I don't even know where to access them. We're going to take care of that today for sure. And short-staffed. So, like, and this is why I ask, if you have been short on time, you're short-staffed, you're overwhelmed, you've got a whole bunch of stuff, like, you need this. We're probably not going to take an hour. Let's say like 30 minutes. We're going to take this 30 minutes, and this is going to be a game changer for you because it's going to reduce the amount of time that it's going to take for you to build campaigns and be able to crank them out so much more efficiently. And that's our goal here. We want to make your lives easier. Consider this your Christmas gift. You're welcome. Because we want to make your lives just easier, more efficient, and that's really what blueprints are all about. It's going to feel like magic, which is why it's so fun that we've got the magic show on Tuesday. Yeah, Gail, in a new role, super crazy. I totally get it. And I was on a call yesterday with a client. You know you're here. And it was amazing as we're talking through these things. It's like, wow, like sometimes you just need to take 15 minutes to learn something new to save yourself tens or dozens of hours. And that's our goal for you today, that if you haven't tried blueprints, this short little amount of time and seeing how it works and learning about it, it's not going to be hard and complicated. It will save you so many hours. So thank you for joining us. And if you're watching the recording, hi too. So I think with that, Ashley, you want to give us a little show and tell, a little demo?
Sure. So I'd love to show you how blueprints work, but just kind of at a high level, the way that we're explaining blueprints are, previously and for years in PropFuel, when you wanted to build a campaign, you went in and you built from scratch. And that's really great. It still is great for the campaigns that are kind of those one-off, kind of weird ones that are specific to your association. But we're seeing a lot of foundational campaigns across all of our clients who, that most clients need to be sending out to their members, either when they're wanting to, win them as a member, once they join and they want to engage them all year, when they're ready to renew, and then possibly when they lapse to win them back. So what we've done is we've come in and we've created these blueprints for all of these foundational campaigns where we pull in best practices that we've seen work across hundreds of clients, as well as some AI content, which is really cool. So it's that content that's specific to your association using ChatGPT. So I am going to share my screen and I'll show you a little bit about how it works. I'll go ahead and share my full screen. All right, so now that this feature is released, you should all see in your account, and feel free to follow along in your account if you want to do it at the same time, but you should see in your account next to the Create New Campaign button, this little down arrow here, and Create from Blueprint. So we have about 18 campaigns now that you can choose from. Like I said, these are all of the foundational campaigns that we really think that you should be sending out to your members throughout their membership journey to engage them and to make sure that they, they stay connected with the association. So I'm gonna, for this one, look at a renewal campaign, but you'll see here we have, lapsed member win back, we have member acquisition, and what's even cool is we've come in and we've started to create member acquisition for individual members, member acquisition for companies. So it's really based on what we see a lot of clients having for their specific membership.
I'm sorry, I do not have headphones with me. I will only be on for like 20 minutes, so if I can turn it up just a little bit more, I will.
And sorry, I don't have I don't have host ability, so if you don't mind muting yourself.
Yeah, Jill, we're only going to take 20 minutes, I promise. You're good.
Let's look at the renewal campaign. So this one, I'm going to just pick the scheduled one, 60 days out. I'm going to select it. And you can see up here at the top, we've tried to give you as much information as possible about what you're in for when you run this blueprint. We've also told you it's scheduled. There's 4 check-ins that can obviously change if you want to delete some or add some. The whole thing about blueprints is it gets you 90% of the way there so that you're just doing 10% of that work. And then it also starts 60 days prior to their expiration date. Again, that's adjustable as well. So I'm going to come in and put in the name of my campaign. I'm going to put in my from name. Ooh, wrong one. My reply to email address, and then my renewal page, and that's it. So I'm just going to pull from this page over here. So you can see I've put in 4 inputs. That is it. And it's going to create an entire renewal campaign for me. So generally, the time it takes to run is dependent on the kind of how big the campaign is. So for example, a new member onboarding campaign, I would say give the system about 5 to 7 minutes to run it. With a renewal campaign, you can see it's running extremely quickly, so much so that we'll be done in just a couple of seconds. And then I'll show it to you. You can also see here, it's kind of an astounding number, 119 steps that the system is taking for us, whereas those are 119 steps that you, if you were building from scratch, would have had to do on your own. All right, and then it's built. So something really important for me to say is there is AI generated content in all of these campaigns. So if you ever use ChatGPT, it's amazing. It gets you, again, 90% of the way there, but it's still just AI. It's not a human. So you'll just want to go in and make sure you're looking at everything it's saying, making sure it makes sense, reformatting anything that needs to be reformatted. So that's just what this little warning box is here. And you can see here, so we have, just like we said, 4 check-ins in the campaign. We have all of our questions in here, all of our answer choices, again, based on best practices that we've seen. And then we've built out all of your actions with your landing pages. And you'll notice as you look at the landing pages, some of them are, just the inputs that you put in, like your renewal link. But then some of them are going to be much more AI focused or bring in a lot more AI. So for example, this one here, we've got some of the best practices that we've put in, but everything you see here has been brought in from AI based on our association. And then it also pulls in your templates. So we have, it'll pull in whatever email templates you have set up in your account, all of the inputs that you put in, and then it'll even bring in some intro text. Again, this is based on best practices that we've seen work. So now in 5 minutes, I have an entire campaign that I can just edit and go live with. So I would love to answer any questions that you have, anything that you want me to kind of go back and show you again how it works. Nothing? You all are so easy.
Gil put in chat, taking the steps out of the way. Oh yeah, and I totally agree. That's we want to be able to make your lives easier. That's really what this is about. So you can go live with more PropFuel campaigns. It's not an extra burden on you. I always like to joke, it's like 119 steps in that one that you're saving. Each one of those steps could be like, I don't know, 10 clicks. It's like 1,000 clicks we just saved you on building that campaign. And obviously you're going to go through and you're going to edit it and tweak it, make it your own, but you're 90% of the way there instead of starting with a blank slate.
And if you've ever built a renewal or lapse win back campaign, the hardest part of that campaign is building your question, asking them why you're not renewing, because then you customize your response if they're retiring or if it's not in the budget. Our AI has auto created some content for you to then edit and make correct. It's not perfect. ChatGPT sometimes just likes to make things up, but to be able to have at least something to start with to then take away things or just polish it off, it helps so much. That one is like the biggest part of those campaigns that my clients struggle with. So to have something to start with is a game changer.
Ashley, I had a quick question.
Sure.
When you were setting it up, it asked you for a URL. Is it just the main URL for your site, or was it the renewal URL?
Yeah, good question. So it's going to be different in every campaign, and we've tried to make it pretty clear in each one. So it'll depend. In this one here, it's the actual renewal page because you want to get them right to the renewal page. Whereas in some, like an acquisition campaign, we may have it go right to your website homepage, and we'll put that in the input.
Okay. What I was wondering is, that was pulling in the AI, and I assume that's from the rest of the website, as opposed to if I put in the renewal link, it will not have that. So that's what I was kind of wondering.
Actually, funny you say that because I just learned this as well. So ChatGPT does not pull from your website. It actually pulls from its own housed database that's not actually looking at your current website. It's looking at all of the information it has about ASM or, whatever the association is that's in their database. So the link that you put in here will not dictate how much information it has.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you so much.
That's something we're going to work on in the future, is allowing you basically create a section in the settings where you can feed in context that we'll use in AI calls. So if you put in your website, you can write a paragraph that you want to make sure the AI is aware about. But the more context we feed into AI over time, the better those landing pages are going to get. So this is kind of our first stab at the AI generated content, but that'll get better and better throughout the next year as we add more features and functionality around it.
Great, thank you.
And I saw Michelle had a question about whether we can, so this was a scheduled campaign, but whether we can have drip or sequence campaigns. And so to answer that question, you definitely can. So one of the renewal campaign options is sequence. So you would just want to make sure that you choose that one instead of the scheduled. And for most of our blueprints, we've tried to create both. This is by no means the full list that we'll have, even 2 months from now. We're constantly adding more blueprints.
Ashley, another question we have is, can you drag and drop or move one question up or down?
Yeah, great question. So the answer is yes, and that's actually a new feature thanks to our development team. So that's especially important when you have something like this new member onboarding campaign here, where you have, that's going to be 9, 10, 11 check-ins for the entire year. So yeah, there's a little up and down arrow next to each check-in that you can just drag and drop. And that's with every campaign that you build in PropFuel now.
While it's in draft mode, you can move them around. And then in a scheduled campaign where you pick the dates, you can always just rearrange by changing the dates.
Good point. Anything else? Any other questions? Of course, this is not, the only time you have to ask them.
So while we're working on that, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and just interrupt. You can pop them in chat, whatever is easier for you. I did want to just hear from the folks that have done blueprints before. So I know I'm going to call you out, Melanie. I'm so sorry. If you wouldn't mind going first, I'd love to hear like your experience with it as someone that's built campaigns, from scratch before blueprints, and how that process felt different, and any observations that you had.
Yeah, I'm also a new client as well, so everything's new to me. So I probably don't have that same feeling of, oh yes, as like everyone else yet, because I didn't get to make too many campaigns. But I did try blueprints for one of our, basically, we have never really sent reminder emails or particularly effective. So I decided to try out blueprints, the renewal campaign. I'm not sure which one I chose because I didn't know the difference at the time. I think I ended up choosing scheduled, but it was helpful. It made most of the things I get stuck at with like how many like responses should I make, or what kind of responses should I make to a question. It kind of got me to a place where the campaign's done and I could just send it out. Done as in like the structure was there, and then I could just edit and send out so that we could kind of make the rest of our goals for the end of year. The thing that I would like to improve in my experience is I noticed that when the blueprints created a extra embedded campaigns, it created 2 of them, but then it named them the same name. So it would be nice to have the names be just embed 1, embed 2, so that I can tell the difference when I'm editing. At the end of the day, I actually deleted the embeds and then just used my own. So I think I'd also like to see on the blueprints, in the like when it asks you what you want to do to set up, maybe an option to select pre-made like embeds that I reuse all the time. That way it can also save us and also the bots in trouble from having to generate too much content when we already have content made. Otherwise, it got me going pretty quickly on this campaign. What would have taken me like a whole day, just like spent 2 hours maybe in my day, just kind of going through the whole thing and editing it, making sure I had all my ducks in a row in my membership database, and then I sent it out, and it's actually just sent out its reminder today. So it's still going.
That's awesome. I love that you were mixing and matching content too, because I think especially if you are someone that has a number of campaigns that have already gone out and they're established, or even if you're somewhat newer like Melanie and ASN, being able to mix and match those pieces and say, okay, I like what the blueprint generated for this. I'm going to pull in my, like, why are you not renewing, or why do you not want to join embed question, and mix and match pieces. And I've encouraged people too, like, even if you're not maybe needing a blueprint at this very moment, pull it through and get some inspiration and ideas. And you might get ideas for landing page copy of like, oh yeah, that actually sounds really good. Let me go use that over here. Or, I've been using the same email template for these renewals for so many years. Let me just pull in, let me get a new idea and pull that piece in. There's no need that like you're committed to that blueprint the second you run it. You can use pieces of it and then just go and archive it, or use the super cool new feature that you can hard delete stuff if you want to now. Thanks, Cameron. So I love the idea of mixing and matching pieces. And Melanie, thank you for your feedback on the labeling things. We can fix that. So, and there, I feel like that's with a lot of things in PropFuel. If you find something you're like, why does it do that? Or that, okay, like I wish it did this thing, please always let us know, let me know, let Ashley know, Megan, whoever's your client success manager, because we'll pass it along. We might have some suggestions of, I think what you're trying to accomplish is this, and this is how you do it. Or we might say, yeah, actually, that would be really great. And we'll find a solution to that. Sherry has a great question too. If we're planning on adding other blueprints around events or program marketing, there is a blueprint. There are a couple of blueprints right now for event and conference registration, event and conference engagement, and we definitely will be building up more of those. So that's actually a good kickoff for this. If you have any ideas, if you're like poking around and looking at the list of blueprints, and you see one that's not on there, either pop it in chat or just email us whenever you get around to it. We would love ideas for more blueprints, and we'll be building those out over time. Yeah, you're welcome. Is there anyone else that wants to speak to their experience on blueprints that's run one before? Ashley, Megan, anyone?
Yeah, I was going to say, even if it's not live, it doesn't have to be live for you to speak on it. Not to call anyone out, but Joran, I saw that you put in the chat that you built one using blueprints just to test it. So if you want to share your thoughts on it, that would be great. And if you're still on the call.
Yeah, I am. Sorry. No, I just tried it. I don't even remember which campaign I used, and I pulled in our website as it prompted, and just watching it work after having hand-built campaigns and then watching it work, it was like, oh wow, this is great. So I encourage everybody to go try it, and then we obviously will have some, if we use that campaign or any of them, we'll obviously have some editing to do on the landing pages, but boy, does it get you started.
I love that. Any ideas, even if you haven't looked at that list, pop in chat. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking of, what campaigns would be really valuable to have as a blueprint. Something that's been on your wish list, but you're like, I don't know that I'm going to get to that. It would be great, because then we can build you a blueprint. Make your lives a little bit easier.
We do a lot with data capture campaigns. I see that you have one for profile update on job title. I wonder if you plan to build those out anymore.
Yeah, we can definitely build out additional profile update campaigns. And one thing to keep in mind too with the profile updates, most of the functionality will stay the same regardless of what you're asking. And so you could even right now run that and just literally change where it says job title to whatever you're looking for. But yeah, if you have any out of the box or even just like common things that you're thinking about, let us know and we can create additional update campaigns.
Something else worth mentioning in that same thought is the write backs will not pull through when you run a blueprint. So when you run the blueprint, it's going to give you, the email template, it's going to give you that landing page text, but it's not automatically going to realize like, oh, you use am.net or you use Fontiva, here's the write back for that. So you'll have to add that afterwards, as well as the contact workflows as well of like, who do you want in the campaign and out of the campaign. But it'll give you the structure, the 90% of that campaign. So then all you have to do is add that right back. And of course, then test it and make sure that's the right field with the right result.
And there's even a placeholder in that campaign that says add right back. So you at least when you're editing and reviewing it, oh, this is where I add that action.
Yeah. Oh, and thanks, Melanie, by the way, for sharing your experience. And Joran, did anyone have any questions for Melanie or Joran in their experience? Cool. All right. So if no one has any other questions on blueprints, I have one final question for you, and then I'm going to pass it over to Cameron, our CTO and co-founder, to give us an overview of what's been happening and what's yet to come in PropFuel. If you don't mind putting in chat, what blueprint do you think you'd use next? Like, what would you use first? Whether that's sneak it in before the end of the year or like January 1, we're going to come back. And this would be a campaign that, like, your number one first campaign that you think you'll work on. Oh my gosh, onboarding for sure.
Yeah.
You should use the onboarding. That is the longest campaign. It takes forever if you're building it from scratch. And it's going to make your life so much easier to not be starting from scratch on that one. Yeah, profile update. I think that's great. Acquisition campaign.
It's a great
Sometimes
acquisition
it's a tricky
campaign.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Yeah.
I love it.
Nice.
Yes, event registration. That I feel like there are some campaigns that end up being so easy to just replicate and do. Oh, and my one trick on this I also wanted to share, especially relevant for event registration. It's when it pulls in the templates, it's going to use your default templates. So for something like an event registration where you probably want it to be branded with the email header and the colors for your event, I would think about creating those templates ahead of time and setting them as your default. That way, when you run the blueprint, it's going to use those as your templates, and that's going to save you even more clicks and more time. So if you know you're doing, let's say, a renewal campaign and it's coming from your director of membership and you want your director of memberships to have a shot and signature in there, that might be worth like pulling in, like making that template ahead of time and using that as the default. That way it pulls from there.
Since we have the time, I'll share my screen real quick and show you how to change your default, because I don't know that that's something that a lot of clients
Yeah, exactly.
Of course. Okay, so pretty easy. So what you'll do is you'll go into your global template library. So you'll go to settings, templates, and you'll see which one is the default because it'll have this little star next to it. All you'll need to do is go to the one that you want to set as your default, click the 3 dots and click make default. And you'll make sure that you do that for the email template, the check-in page template, and the thank you page template. So the same 3 dots for each of those.
Awesome. Feel free if you have any questions or other comments, pop them in chat. Otherwise, Cameron?
Yeah. So yeah, I won't keep you too long, but wanted to just do a kind of 5-minute overview of some product updates that we've been working on, and then kind of what we're looking forward to as we plan out the next year. Some things to keep an eye out that have been released recently. So we put a lot of work into increasing the visibility of what happens when your integrations are running. And that's kind of integration by integration, but we've gone through our most popular integrations, and you'll see a little like Running Man icon on top of your workflow. And if you click that, you can see every time that integration has run, it'll tell you in detail when it's run. And there's also a view logs button. And if you click through in there, you can kind of see what came back from the system. So if you ever run a workflow and nothing comes through, you can click on that. You can see if something happened and there's just nothing there, or if it hasn't run yet. But that's just a little kind of nice to have that we're trying to work on giving more visibility into what's happening behind the scenes. Most of the times the integrations kind of work like magic. You just click the button and then things show up, and sometimes they don't. So trying to add some visibility into what's happening behind the scenes there. The other thing we've been putting more work into is SMS. So those of you who have SMS, we now have the ability to get your campaigns registered straight in the platform. We've added some more features and functionality around reporting on how many credits you're using, that kind of stuff. And I think the most exciting thing that we're working on over the next month or so is the ability to ask questions over SMS. So you'll be able to send an SMS that directs them to a question, a link to a question where they can answer it, and then you can bring them through all the workflows that you're used to doing with email campaigns. So we're excited to see what you guys do with that as we continue to build out our SMS product. And then kind of looking forward, I think the blueprints has been a huge focus of ours. And the reason why we want to release blueprints is that the number one thing we hear from people over and over again, we've heard it on this meeting as well, is I just don't have time. I'm slammed. And what we want to do is make it as easy as humanly possible for you guys to create campaigns, get things up and running, and get that valuable feedback back from your members and get them engaged. So Blueprints is a huge component of that. And as part of that, we started dabbling with AI. And there's this concept that we're kind of driving towards, which is to turn the users of our platform, so you guys, from authors into editors. So if you start with a blank sheet of paper in front of you, you have to do everything. That's a lot more work than if you have the first draft in front of you. and you just have to edit it. And that's the concept behind blueprints. But really what I want to get into next year is basically anywhere where there's something that you have to do in the platform, there should also be a little button that's like, hey, AI, try and do this for me. So whether that's writing subject lines for an email or writing a landing page or setting up a template or whatever it is, we want to give you guys kind of the first draft auto-generated via AI. We've got some ideas on how to make that more and more useful over time. So we're just starting to dabble into that, but I think in Q1 of next year, you'll see a ton of little magic wand icons all over the platform that you can click and it'll do stuff for you. And that's a huge focus of ours, is just trying to take as much effort out of the equation as possible. And obviously, you know, we don't want to have everything on autopilot and let the AI run amok and who knows what's going out. We want to give you guys the ability to review and edit and make sure that you're making it yours and it's good to go. But we want to take that first draft responsibility off of you guys as much as possible. So we'll continue to build out blueprints. We'll continue to infuse the AI generated text into more and more places. And we'll continue to kind of listen to you guys as to where the friction points are in the user experience and try and knock those out and make everything as smooth as possible. The other big focus that we have for 2024 is improving the reporting in the platform. So that happens at two different levels. One is just anything that happens in the platform, kind of behind the scenes, give you guys visibility as much as possible into, you know, when things are scheduled, when things are going out, kind of a calendar view of what all you have going on, detailed reporting on what actions were fired, who they were fired for, when they were fired, who's doing what. So that's at the granular level, being able to really dive into at the individual level what's happening, in the aggregate level what's happening across your campaigns. But then we also want to make it easier for you guys to view kind of the high level results of your campaigns. And especially in a way, I know for most of the people on here on this call, what you ultimately want to be able to do is show your boss and your boss's boss and your board, like, hey, look at all the awesome things we're doing. Look at all the awesome engagement we have going on through PropFuel. So ways to summarize interactions across related campaigns, bubble those up into a report that shows, you know, we had this many people do this thing, and then we brought them over here and they did this, and we brought them over here and they did this, and kind of give that high level view of, what was the goal of your campaign, being able to report against that goal. So if it's something like member acquisition, hey, here right in the platform, it says we have, 250 people joined because of this campaign. We know that because we're integrated and we can pull together lists. So we're still in a lot of the ideation phase on that. I know we've talked to a handful of you guys about ideas there and kind of gathering requirements. But that's going to be a big push for us in 2024 is getting as much functionality and features around reporting that allows you guys to see exactly what's going on and then also show off internally and really be a champion for the engagement that you're getting through PropFuel. So yeah, that's kind of the high level of where we're going, and we'll continue to release and announce new features as we go. And as always, if you have any ideas or questions, feel free to drop anything in the chat or shoot me an email at Cameron@propfuel.com. I'd love to talk to you.
Thanks, Cameron. Any other thoughts or questions about blueprints or about the platform and all the cool stuff that's about to go?
Yeah, I had something.
Yeah.
So I haven't used blueprints yet, but given that I live with one of the co-creators, I've seen her working on building many of them, and talked with her about just the intentionality and the strategy that goes into building all of the levels of them. So not only to make things more efficient and take less time for you, but also thinking about all the various steps in the campaigns that you need to have. And so in case sometimes I'll build things and just kind of forget, I probably should add this check-in or add this. All of those pieces have been thought of beforehand. So 90% of it built out, and then you go in and tweak it to personalize it for you.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Josh. It's like we built them out so that it's like a guardrail for you. Like that's my new 2024 term, right? It's like we've put up these guardrails for you so that anytime you use blueprints, it's harder to miss something with a blueprint than if you're building from scratch. And so especially if you're new or you're not feeling as comfortable with it, or you're coming back after months of not building, use a blueprint, get used to it. So yeah, it's a good point.
And there's no commitment that you pull through, let's say, an event and conference registration blueprint. There's no commitment that like you need to use that entire thing. I've had clients tell me, look, I just want a single check-in and these are campaigns. Like, yeah, they are. So pull them in. And then if you really truly only want one, pick the one you want and delete the others. Otherwise, use those. Kick the sun dates out to like 2025 or something, and then at least you've got that first one there and it's just ready for you when you have 10-15 minutes to edit what you need to and get the move up the send date on the next one. Cool. I love the kudos in the chat. Top level reporting, really important. Well, great. If there's no other questions or comments that people want to share, I know the gift of time is probably the most valuable asset we all have. So I'll let you all go to your busy lives and your busy days. Thank you so much for joining us for our roundtable, and for those of you that spoke or put something in chat. Thank you for your contributions to this little PropFuel community of ours. We appreciate you so much. And it's so important to be grateful, especially this time of year, for all the great things we have. So thank you all. Happy holidays. Hope you enjoy it with friends and family. And we are here when you need us anytime. Send us an email. All three of us are happy to chat anytime about your campaigns or answer any questions. Love the little Christmas tree reaction. Thank you, Melanie. And the thanks in chat. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
Can't wait to see what you guys build.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.